Welcome to this screen lecture about referencing in evidence-based writing. In much of the writing that you do for the VERCAM courses, you will be required to write in such a way that your ideas are supported by evidence and your arguments and point of meaning is presented to your reader in a clear way. In this lecture, you will learn what evidence-based writing is, and you will learn what techniques to use to refer to your sources. This is the scope of the lecture. What is evidence-based writing? What is referencing? Why using references? When to use references? And how to use references? How to refer to secondary sources. We hope to provide clear answers to all of these questions to make you better equipped to take on your writing assignments in VERCAM. What is evidence-based writing and why is it an important part of this course? Evidence-based writing is writing about a topic in such a way that you demonstrate precisely where your sources come from. For the reader of your paper, it should be absolutely clear which ideas you have contributed yourself and which ideas are borrowed from other sources. For example, it's no good saying, statistics show that child poverty has increased, without citing the relevant statistics and their source. Because in this way, the reader cannot trace the evidence of the claim that you refer to. Your job will be to show precisely where you found these statistics, and then your claim will be evidence-based. So what is referencing and how does it contribute to writing in an evidence-based way? Referencing offers the reader the possibility to find and check the sources that you have used. By listing your sources in a reference list at the end of your text and by hinting to this source at any point in the text so that the reader gets a clear idea about your sources. Later on in this lecture, we will explain how you should do this. Why do we use references? There are various reasons why it's in your own interest to show your sources as much as possible. First, referencing is used to show that you are well documented. The paper should serve as a vehicle for demonstrating that you have read sufficiently widely on the topic, that you have thought about this material, and that you are able to use it in a coherent argument. Secondly, the referencing serves to show where your ideas come from, so they can be traced and found by the reader. This will define the background and context of your paper. Third, you want to use references to support your ideas, meaning that you are not alone in making a claim or a point on a certain topic. And finally, you may want to stimulate the reader to do additional reading on the topic. When do you use references? Firstly, every time you quote an author or a source, you make a reference to that author or that source. Quoting or citing entails that you literally, meaning word by word, copy somebody else's ideas, research results or findings. Secondly, when you rely upon somebody else's ideas that you may have paraphrased or borrowed, you make a reference to the author or the source. Paraphrasing means that you formulate somebody else's ideas, research results or findings in your own words. Finally, when you want to direct the reader towards further reading on the topic, without actually using that source, you can include a reference. For instance, for further reading, see also. Now let us show you which technique you have to use to reference well. Referencing is a twofold process. Firstly, you have to add a short reference every time you are using content that is not your own. This is done to show that in that particular part of your text you are borrowing an idea, either in a paraphrase or in a quote or citation. Secondly, you will have to make a reference list at the end of your paper, and this list comprises the full source reference of the sources you have referred to in your text, and only those. It is essential that there is a one-to-one relationship between the sources that come up in the text and the items listed in the reference list. How this is done will be explained later. There are multiple systems in use to reference. Every system has its own set of rules on how to arrange data about sources. This is a matter of convention. Many of you may have learned to use footnotes for referencing. This is not the system that we have decided to use. For WordCamp courses, we have decided to work with APA, a system designed by the American Psychological Association. This is an internationally recognized system, both in academic research and in the professional field. Short references in the text help the reader to find the full reference in the reference list. Using a full reference in the text would disturb the reading process too much, and that is why the link to the full source is kept as short as possible. For APA, this means that the author or authors, the year of publication, and the page or pages where the information can be found are mentioned in the text. Whether this source is in fact a book, a website or an article is not relevant at this point. If the reader wants to find out, they can find the answer in the reference list. If you quote a source, you use quotation marks to mark the beginning and the end of the quote. The short reference to the source has to follow straight after the quote, as in the example presented here. However, if the quote or citation comprises 40 or more words, display this in a freestanding block of text and omit the quotation marks. More often, a source is paraphrased. In this case, the short reference appears either at the beginning of the paraphrase, within the first sentence, or at the end. Sometimes a paraphrase takes up an entire paragraph of your text. In this case, the short reference appears at the end of the paragraph, right after the last period. Full references of all the sources used is presented in the reference list. This list should be complete. Every full reference should contain all the information you have about the source. For APA, this means that a full reference should at least contain the following elements. Unlike with the short reference, it now becomes clear that Smith 2011 is an essay that can be found on the internet. Difficulties may arise when you want to refer correctly to your sources. You may find yourself asking one of the following questions. What to do if I can't find the date of publication? What to do if my article has no title? What if my source is written by 2 authors? Or what if my source is a website and I can't find the name of the author? And many others. The answers to all of these and many more questions can be found in the APA Publication Manual 6th edition. You can find this manual in the library of your institution. This manual contains a lot of examples. It covers a wide range of different sources. The most common are books, book chapters from an edited collection, articles in magazines and newspapers, websites, interviews, illustrations or movies. Of course, you can also address your WordCamp teacher if you have questions about how to use APA. There is, however, one difficulty that we want to clarify here. What to do when the source you want to use cites from another secondary source. For instance, if you find information in another student's paper, this student may have found their information in a book. If this is the case, always refer to the source where you found the information and not the original source. For example, if you read an article by Alex Reed, in which he cites information from a previous study by Seidenberg and McClelland, and you wish to refer to this information in your paper, you would mention Seidenberg and McClelland in the text, but the short reference will be to the article by Reed. In your reference list at the end of your assignment, your entry would be the reference for Reed's article, because that is where you source the information. We'd like to advise you to use secondary sources sparingly. For instance, when the original work is out of print, unavailable through usual sources or not available in English. Next to the APA publication manual, there is another important help for referencing. Microsoft Word offers the tool References. This tool will ask you to input all the required information and will automatically add the short reference in the text, as well as all the full references in an automatically generated reference list. Using this tool will save you a lot of time, so why not try it? If you follow the link below, you will find a full explanation on how to use this tool. I hope that with this lecture we have succeeded in giving you the answers to the core questions about referencing in academic writing. For further questions, please address your VerCam teacher. Good luck with the course!